Flashlights are cool. Still love flashlights. They intrigue me, mainly because they're so useful. They can help out in so many different situations and different philosophies of use, or POUs as I've always called them. They just rock. Like I said in my video last year or so, shedding some light on new lighting technologies, we're continuing to see quantum advances in lighting technologies. And this is one of the companies leading the charge. 4.7s, baby. We talked to these guys at the 2010 SHOT Show. They were great hosts to the Nut and Fancy project. They also participated in the Nut and Fancy giveaway in 2010. That was ultra cool. David Chow, Vince Tidwell, and crew. Great job with the booth review, and it was fun talking to those guys. I may reference some of the things that David Chow said, owner of 4.7s. This is one of his lights. Quark AA2 Tactical. And there's a lot more in the proprietary Quark series of 4.7s that are equally as excellent as this light. Just great models. We saw them in the SHOT Show, didn't we? The Mini 123, the CR2 version, the Mini AA, the Preon Quark 123 Square Turbo, AA Square Turbo. I guess they have an RGB Quark out now. Then a Quark 123, 123 Square Tactical, and on the line at Quark grows. These are outstanding lights. I'll say that like I often do right at the first of the review. I'm going to prove it in the talking points in a lot of ways, and just like I said in the booth review, 4.7s is setting the standard worldwide as of 2010 on quality flashlights, utilizing the cutting edge technology. As I often do, I'll go down my talking points. I'll do the best I can giving the details as I see them, things that might interest you, the potential flashlight buyer, how you can go out and spend your hard-earned money. You might want to turn your speakers down, because if the wife hears me, they probably won't dig it. Nothing fancy again? Oh, great. You're going to spend more money. Possibly. This light's worth the money. I'll tell you that right now. It is worth the money. Let's get going, man. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible. Size and weight. This thing is cool. Let me show you the packaging first off. There's your packaging. Honestly, I think guys... well, what I was going to say is, honestly, it might be a little bit overkill on the packaging. It costs money to make packaging like this. I'd prefer to see it bare bones packaged, save me a couple dollars, and maybe offer a collector packaging for guys that want to collect the light. And there are a lot of dudes like that. Some of the CPF guys are that way. They have a whole rack. Well, actually, I'm that way. At this point, I love these lights. I'm not quite as technical as some of those dudes. Check this out, though. That's a nice packaging story of 4.7s, how it came to be, the specifications of the light. It's set inset here. Just a beautiful job. I'll show you the accessories later. Just a beautiful packaging. Probably a little bit much for a user, because you're probably just going to huck this. Although it is quality enough where you could actually store your light here if you wanted to. Magnetically held by a magnetic catch. So that's kind of cool. So there's your packaging. Size and weight. And the reason I bring that up is batteries are included. Okay, with Duracell batteries, 3.8 ounces on the Quark AA2 Tactical. 4 ounces with rechargeable Inteloops, Sanyo variety. 3.2 ounces with lithium batteries. That's very light. By way of reference, remember the D20 with Inteloops was 5.8 ounces. Okay, so this blows it away. On par with the LD20, and I may roll this in occasionally as a review progresses. Here's the Phoenix LD20, still an excellent light. Did you hear that? So if you have an LD20, I would not get rid of it. Still a great light. Has some advantages over the Quark depending on your point of view, and the Quark AA2 Tactical has several advantages over the Phoenix, again, depending on your point of view. These lights, though, are the same weights, pretty much. Least with the same types of batteries. Anytime you go with the lithiums, you're going to have a lighter weight light. I mentioned that earlier. 5.8 ounces in length. It's a very portable light. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead, talking about ergonomic consideration. There we go, ergo's right there. Notice that the barrel of the LD20 is narrowed through the body for a cigar hold, which I've demonstrated in other vids before. Won't waste the time here. The Quark is the Quark AA2 Tactical, a little bit thicker through the body. Does it really matter? Nope, it doesn't. It's pure aesthetics for most guys. I don't think most guys will be utilizing a cigar hold. If I had to be pushed between the two styles, which one do I like? I always will go for the slimmer design, the more svelte and streamlined design. And I think the LD20 still has that because of the narrow barrel through here. That being said, I don't think it's a huge deal between the two, and I've used both lights and they're both excellent as far as that goes, and the ergonomics and the size and weight factor. Excellent. Incidentally, this is like a brand new AA2 tactical, the one I was using and had put through all my tests. Totally lost it. Nice job, nutnfancy. Yeah, I had to get this one for the tabletop review. That sucked. I hate it when I lose something like that. Something really cool. You know what I hate about it? Here's an aside. Sorry, I got to tell you this. It really ticks me off because someone's going to find the Quark AA2 Tactical wherever I left it, and they're going to pick it up, and they won't even know how to run the light. Most people have no idea about the UIs these lights have. All they'll know is they'll say, wow, that's a really bright mini mag light. It's like in the wrong hands. You know, if it fell into the hands of another flashaholic, I would be okay with that, actually. Construction. Let's keep going. This is a well-made light. A lot of guys will make a point, and rightly so, about the square threading on the Quark series of lights. What that means is that the threads are actually squared off if you were to look at them closely, and it makes them more durable, less likely to be cross-threaded, and that's an advantage. Especially in a light where you're going to be unscrewing the cap constantly and back on. Maybe lights turning, and in this case, you're actually, you know, like we do in the Phoenix and the other lights, turning the head to the emitter head to access different modes. Now, that being said, I've never had a problem with the Phoenix variety or any other lights that did not have the square threading in my use of the lights. Not yet. Maybe years down the road I will. But given the choice, I'll take the square threading of the Quark AA2 Tactical. Love it. Type 3 anodizing over the T6061 aluminum body. By way of reference, the Nitecore D20 was 7075 series aluminum, same type they use on the receivers of AR-15s. Still both high quality aluminums. I don't think you're going to have any problems with it. IPX8 water standard is what the Quark AA2 is capable of doing. Again, by way of reference, that means 12 feet static for 24 hours. Okay, and I think all these lights that have high quality construction like these Quarks are not going to leak, at least when they're new. Maybe 10 years down the road, if you never replace the O-rings, I think you might get a little bit of ingress of water. Let's talk about that lens. Not plastic, it's glass. Actually, these little Cree LEDs put out so much heat, you'd be hard pressed to have a plastic lens last. I mean, there's different polycarbonates and stuff that can do it, but glass is the way to go. And what David Chow does on this, if I get the details right, apologize if I don't, sapphire coated on the exterior of the glass lens for scratch resistance, anti-reflective coated on the interior. And what that does, it makes the emission of light more efficient because you don't have inner reflections bouncing back and forth, you know, reducing your efficiency. I.e. the AR coating on the inside of the lens is the way to go. So I love it. It's a well put together light. Okay, and incidentally, I'll say this now. Quark series, and I'm kind of jumping down to Versatility right there, are interchangeable, is my understanding. The emitter heads are basically the same. You can buy the parts differently. This is a Quark emitter head rated, I think, 0.09 to 4.2 volts. It'll work with double AA cells, also 123 cells. That is a CR123. There's your interloops. But you can take the light apart and just mix and match. Do whatever you want. There's a body. You could put a 123 body on it. Put the tail caps on here. You could run it with a double cell, a single cell. So there's a lot of versatility. And the construction, as you can see, very lightweight but very strong. I like that. And incidentally, if you want to reverse a pocket clip, which we'll talk about here in a second, all you would do is reverse the emitter head with the tail cap. And voila, you've got the pocket clip situated on the other end. And I guess I'll just mention it now. There's your pocket clip. I think it blows away the Phoenix pocket clip, which I don't have a good representation of because I just have the regular LD20 model on the table. I don't have the Plus that has their pocket clip. This is an outstanding pocket clip though. No Wizard of Oz issues as I call them. It's pretty decent. Some guys may complain that the light sticks out too far from the pocket. If I had an option, I would like it to ride a little bit deeper, maybe like the L or the D20 of Nightcore. You can see the differences, which will be protruding from your pocket, because things can get bumped, the light can come out of your pocket and you can lose it. Some guys say, well, how did you lose your light? I know you're wondering that. It was actually riding in kind of a knife pouch that I failed to close, so it was my own fault. And I should have closed it. I didn't, because I thought I was going to access the light immediately. I didn't. Long story short, it fell out. It's gone. I may recover it because I kind of know where it went, but for now I'm minus 1 Quark AA2 tactical. That sucks. Ergos on this light are excellent. Okay, there's not much I would change about the Quark AA series. Full knurling along the body, not quite as aggressive perhaps as the Nightcore. Maybe not the D20, but the D10 is a great representation of how knurling should be done. It's very, I don't have one on the table here right now, but it's very purposeful, aggressive, locks in nicely. I think the 4/7 Quark AA2 tactical knurling is even a little bit smoother than that of this particular LD20. This gives me a little bit better purchase. Granted, it's not over most of the body, so it really doesn't matter. The Quark AA is. So great job on that. Good knurling. Not super aggressive. I would like it to be made a little bit sharper. I already talked about the clip, how strong it is. It doesn't stick out too far. On the tactical series, I'll talk about the UI here in a second. You have a protruding clip, dudes. Not clip, but switch. That's how the tactical series, one of the differences is compared to the regular Quark series. That means you won't be able to tail stand with these lights. Kind of like you can with the D20. See how that's flush mounted? And remember how I looped that lanyard through, so I still maintain that ability to tail stand and act like a lantern. And then the LD20 has that wonderful stepped tail cap that actually gives you the best of both worlds. And again, this is getting back to what I said about depending on your point of view, maybe the LD20 has a few advantages over the Quark. Just depends. But you can still tail stand with this, albeit with those stepped ears. It's not super stable. The tactical series, you won't be able to do that. So just keep that in mind. It's one thing you're not going to have. Also, your anti-roll feature with the Quark AA is going to come from your pocket clip. Okay, there's really no anti-roll bezel as there is on LD20, as you can see. I love this feature. Maybe in future versions they can integrate it. It's not a huge deal because I would, if I'm a user of this light, there's no way I would take the pocket clip off. I think it adds too much utility to take it off. So ergos overall excellent. We'll get to the UI here in just a second. Brightness and throw. If you guys want to know all the details of any light that I review, go to Candle Power Forums and search out the light. You'll have guys that are a lot more into flashlights, the specifics, the science behind it. I mean, I'm really talking the science behind it. Till your eyes glaze over and you can find out. What I'm going to cover here is user interest stuff. Let's talk about the different burn times first off. Actually, brightness throw, I'll do that first. Let me go to the box real quick, and then we'll talk about burn times just a sec. It says here, let's see, advanced optics illuminate objects over 100 yards away. Okay, let's keep this real. You're going to be hard-pressed to have this light really throw a beam 100 yards. Define illuminate. If you're talking about throwing a soft glow over the object, then yeah, you can do it. In high mode or max mode with 170 out the front lumens, you will be able to kind of see things at 100 yards. More realistically, it's going to be a 40 to 50 yard light if you're lucky. But remember, my standard measure is pretty picky. I am kind of thinking of it as a weapon light. You know, would I really be able to discern the target at 100 yards with a Quark AA2 tactical? I think probably not. But that being said, that's on par with any of the other lights I've talked about. You know, the LD20, the Nightcore is actually more of an area light. I talked about that. This one blows it away in terms of throw. This is a thrower. Okay, the Quark AA2 tactical, and this is the R2, the XPE, Cree XPE R2 version, and there's an even more powerful version, the XPG R5, but even this version has a very impressive throw, and as you can see, a very impressive beam. Let's go to, I think I'm already there, high mode. Look at the beam, and this is a very impressive feature of all the Quark lights. Remember in the 2010 booth review with David Chow, he talked about the science behind the building of a reflector in the Quark series of lights. Okay, he said the smoother reflector will give you more throw, and basically is what they do is mildly texture, i.e. Impart a slight orange peel to the reflector to get rid of that ring or the hole in what is otherwise a perfect reflector until it disappears. And therein they find the best balance between throw, beam pattern, and area illumination, and you're looking at it right here. Okay, so what I'm saying is there's a lot of thought put into the Quark lights in terms of beam pattern. That is a result of it being a product of a lot of people that know about flashlights. The input from those Candle Power Forum members that are very particular about the beam throws, the concentricity, can't speak today, of the beam. And that is all a good thing, because what is produced is a very clean beam. It's perfectly centered. There's no artifacts. There's no weird rings. And it really doesn't matter at what distance you evaluate the beam throw at. You won't discern any of those. At least I haven't. Maybe someone who's really particular and very knowledgeable about all the variances of beam patterns might be able to do it. I haven't. You know, thrown on the ceiling and studied and used outside, I've been extremely impressed with this. Now, there's going to be an inevitable comparison against other lights. Here's the LD20, and you can see already, see those halos in the LD20? I think I mentioned those in the review. Are they a showstopper? No, they're not. This light is still extremely functional with a very tight spot, a functional spill beam on the left there with the LD20. But in comparison to the Quark owns it as far as cleanliness of beam, the ability to throw, and still have that very useful flood. I'm very impressed with the beam on this Quark AA2 Tactical. There's no Cree rings that I can see either. It's just amazing. It's a light orange peel reflector that they're in. And let me see if I can turn these lights on. You can kind of see it. No surprise there. We've seen that in a lot of different lights. They did have a neutral white version of the Quark AA2. Actually, I forget if it was tactical or not. It was a neutral white. And it was mostly for guys that wanted a true color representation from their light. I think most of the guys watching this video, i.e. guys looking for a very high quality, multi-purpose, super high quality, super bright, multi-mode flashlight, probably won't be interested in that. It doesn't matter. But if you do need true color rendition, maybe as a doctor or something, you know, you might look those up. They have different versions. I think this version of the neutral white sold out a long time ago. They just fly off the shelves. So the throw, I'm going to say about 25 yards in max mode, and that will take us to, and that's, I said 25, I meant 50 yards. And again, that's variable. It's very subjective when we talk about throw, because I may say, oh, 50 yards. Another guy will say, no, 75. Another guy may say 25 feet. It just depends on who you are. Burn times. A lot of cool modes in here. I'll demonstrate it when we get to UI. Generally, I'm going to use the manufacturer modes, i.e. David Chow's burn times on these, because they're pretty accurate from what I understand. In the moonlight mode, and I don't have it set up for moonlight yet. I will when I demo the UI. That is a very low 0.2 out the front lumen mode, which I absolutely love. It's extremely useful. It's going to run for 30 days. Holy cow. Yeah, that's what he's saying. 30 days. It makes sense because you're just really just barely, you know, using any power from those AA cells. In low mode, 3.5 lumens. I forget what that was. It's like a long time. Leave it at that. Medium is 18 out the front lumens in brightness level, 24 hours. And the emitter head's being driven at about 50 milliamps is what the specs tell us. High mode is 70 out the front lumens with the R2 version, 5 hours. Emitter head being driven at 250 milliamps. That's the draw it's taking, is my understanding. Max mode, which you're seeing now, 170 out the front lumens, 700 milliamps is what the draw is going. And 1.3 hours. And the high mode, if I didn't say so, 5 hours. Pretty good. If you go with the R5 edition of this Quark AA2 Tactical Light, you're even going to have more brightness. Remember what David Chow said, and it's going to be the pattern, and it has been. They're going to constantly upgrade this, the LED. Right now, they're using the XPG R5 LEDs. If I went to a website, kind of a cool website, it's called ledrise.com. They sell the LEDs. And I read about the R5, and it says it's capable of 345 lumens at 105 lumens per watt, driven at 1 amp. That makes it 46% brighter, 64% more efficient than the XRE LED. Okay, and the XRE LED was a good light, was a good LED light. My point in all this is that you're going to see just quantum leaps in the capabilities of these lights. That being said, don't feel like, oh well, heck, I only have a Q5 or an R2 version. That sucks. No, it doesn't. This R2 version is amazing. I think most users would be hard pressed to tell the difference between this and an R5. Okay, but if you want the top, go with the R5. The R5, going through the specs real quick. Moonlight is 0.2 lumens, 30 days. 4 lumens in low, 5 days. 22 lumens, 24 hours. High mode is 85 lumens for 5 hours. Max is 206 lumens for the XPG LED R5 version. I know these are a lot of specs, but some guys want to hear them. And that's for 2.5 hours if you go with the R5 version. Burn times in a nutshell, or in a nut and shell like I like to say, outstanding, very efficient for the current technology. You'll get different variances with temperature, your choice of battery cells, like I've always said. That will take us to modes, our user interface, and the simplicity that you can operate your AA2 Quark light with. Some guys with the Phoenix light will criticize the fact that you have to cycle through different modes by tapping the end of the switch, and it has no memory function. In other words, it won't memorize where it was when you turn the light off. Okay, you have to tap through them. I really don't mind that with the Phoenix. Some guys do. If you go with a Quark tactical version, and I'm not just talking the AA version, but any of their other lights which are tactical, you have a different UI. I already talked about the tail cap, which extends. It also has, and I forgot to mention this, a forward clicky switch, which gives it a momentary on capability. In other words, I can just barely depress the switch and bring the light on momentarily without going into a full click. Okay, like that. That's a forward clicky switch as opposed to the reverse clicky on the LD20 and many of the other Phoenix lights. It goes deeper than that though too. The mode on the Quark AA2 Tactical and many of the other tactical lights can be programmed. You have two modes, full tight bezel to the left and loose to the right. Both of these modes can be programmed, and I'll try to demonstrate that real quick. The way you do is turn on the light, rotate the bezel 4 or more times quickly, and just let it sit for a second. It'll flash telling you it's ready to be programmed. I'm going to program the loose mode. Then I just start turning off and turning on the light until I get to the mode that I want to be in. There's a strobe. And I'm just going to go for that very low light right there. See that? It's still on. Now watch. It'll flash telling me that it's remembered that mode. Here it comes. Bam. Programming is complete. I turn the light off. So I just programmed, I think either in low or moonlight mode. I think that's low mode. And so now I have the light programmed for full max, which is full left, and then super low. Isn't that cool? That is a cool UI. Disadvantages would be that you can't access those other modes readily. You have to go through that whole programming sequence that I just showed you. Okay? Some guys may not like that. Having used this light in a lot of different situations, I actually love it. I'm a pretty adaptable dude though when it comes to flashlights. Okay, I don't mind the UI on the LD20. I don't mind the UI on the D20 with a couple caveats, which I mentioned in the review of that. Okay, but that's how you do it. And the nice thing is it's memory capability. So it's going to remember the mode you left off in with the tactical series. If I were to choose a light in the Quark lineup, the way I'm thinking right now is I would prefer the tactical capability of that. I like it. The programming takes just a few seconds, just like I showed you. You're going to program your primary, secondary modes, and then that's it. And since we're here, and since I was talking about, let's talk about that low mode. I have an overhead light on so you can still see me while I'm filming. I think that's low mode right there. I don't think it's moonlight, because moonlight's even lower. This is an advantage that the Quark has over on many other lights. Okay, the moonlight mode is 0.2 lumens in the R5 version. And if we compare that against the lowest mode of the Phoenix, look how much lower that is. Lots of advantages. Higher burn time, preservation of night vision, and the Phoenix stuff doesn't even come close if that's important to you. And that, again, it all depends on your point of view. For a lot of users, they don't care about the low mode. They're never going to be using it in a wilderness setting or in a super dark setting, so the LD20 will continue to serve them well. I love having that option. Battery preservation, night vision, it's just a huge advantage of all the Quark series that have this capability of going super low. Okay, and that'll take us to versatility talking point. I won't go through the POUs you can put this light in. This is what it comes with. A very well-designed holster. Comes with your AA2 tactical light. It probably beats the Phoenix in terms of quality in both the nylon used and just the overall construction. It's just a higher quality holster. Doesn't have a quick attach capability, which I would really like to see. That's kind of a bummer. Here's your lanyard it comes with. I kind of wish the insides of all these flashlight lanyards were hollowed out, because it's a very thick lanyard. I probably won't use it that much, especially with a clip. It's going to come riding with me in the pocket or just throw it in a pack somewhere. But if you want it, here it is. And I love that they include that little D-ring on there. That's nice. Those D-rings are cool. That allows you to attach your own lanyard if you want, just like that. And you don't have a tail stand capability with this light, so you might as well use it. And, you know, if you just don't like that lanyard for whatever reason. There's your 2 spare O-rings with it. This is like a rubber grip sleeve that allows you to attach to the light and use it one-handed if you really, really don't want to lose the light. I really never see myself using this, ever, but it's in the package. So you get a lot in the package when you get a Quark AA squared tactical. And I'm calling it AA squared. Any of the Quarks will be the same way. I'm just trying to keep the nomenclature straight. Okay, advantage LD20 over the Quark. The attachment of lighting accessories. At least as of now, 4.7s may come out with some light cones later on. If they have, I didn't really see them yet, but it would be a big thing if they did, because I love that about the Phoenix lights. That I can attach a light cone, turn it into a traffic wand, a signaling wand. You know, I have a red lens attachment if I want to preserve my night vision in the higher modes. That's a big plus. I already talked about this. The white cone that you put on there, turn it into a lantern. Okay, advantage Phoenix in that regard. Times may change though, and the Quarks may come out with that as well. Not as of yet. So a little bit on the versatility talking point, just keep that in mind. One thing I forgot to talk about is the beacon mode that this has. Advantage Quark over the Phoenix and a lot of other lights. I'm not going to reprogram it again and waste airtime to do it. But what the beacon is a high flash mode at about 170 lumens. Actually, I'm not sure of the lumens, but it'll run for 18 hours with the R2 version of the Quark AA2 Tactical. And it just flashes. I'll use the momentary function just to simulate that we're in beacon. You know, it's like that. Okay, it's just a slow on and off pulse pattern. That's really helpful if you want to use your light to find your campsite again. You know, with your pocket clip, you could clip it to the tent, turn on your beacon mode. You're not toasting your batteries. Real easy to find your campsite again. And having been in the woods a lot, in bad weather a lot, I will tell you that that's a big plus on this light. That in the moonlight mode. That will make the Quark AA2 Tactical an outstanding wilderness light. Track record. It's a new light, so it's hard to say. It's establishing that right now. But the quality level is higher than that of the Phoenix when you look at the fit and finish, the quality of the accessories which are included, the knurling, everything that you see on the light is outstanding. The Phoenix is still an excellent light, and I'm not changing anything I've said about it in review. If I felt differently, I'd post an addendum video. Great light. Quark AA2 though, tactical, and all the Quark lights seem to be setting the standard for value and durability, it seems, as well. Time will tell though. The cost on this. Okay, and now we're getting into cost and value. It's excellent. Okay, you're looking at, for the R2 version, as of the filming of this Nut and Fancy flashlight review video, March 2010, $50. $50? If you haven't got one, you probably ought to go get the R2 version right now. For $9 more, you can get the R5 version, but it's often sold out, so you might have to be patient on that. The R5, again, is that brighter version, putting out 206 out the front lumens, and that's measured, again, not at the LED itself, but actually what the light puts out through the emitter head. 206 versus 170 or so with the R2 version. Both are excellent. For $50, I think that's an incredible buy. The Quark AA Square Tactical, cutting edge double AA light, and I really like the AA versions because those cells are available all over the world, no matter where you live. Maybe the CR2s or the CR123 cells, not so much. Great light, great functionality, great user interface, and great quality levels throughout. That's the Quark AA Square Tactical by 47s, highly recommended by Nut and Fancy. See ya.